Yeah, right. So what I was just showing you guys is the shit that they do. Alright, so again, leaving those type of things on the floor, right? Not just leaving them there because they know. See, yesterday was the red circle. Now they have that in the entrance of the living room where I go in to tie my shoes, and it's been on the ground there, since I woke up this morning. All right, no one moves it, again. So now they go from not leaving it directly in front of my bedroom door, but in the hallway. Right? So yeah, this is one of the things that they'll do. Now, yesterday, fuck you too. Yeah. So yesterday, actually last night, I was doing some research, and you hear the sirens. Okay, this is the third time of the day of hearing the sirens. I texted Pam earlier about a package. Afterwards, the sirens, and then she had called me later. I called her back, and afterwards again hear the sirens, and getting ready to put on my shoes to come outside, hear the sirens. Right? So anyway, so yesterday I was just doing some research, just finding some old rare books, right? Because the one thing that most Christians do is they don't study or research the Bible, and they literally take the Bible as the Word of God. But then when you point out contradictory, right, and they do this unconsciously. Whoa. Then when you point out the contradiction in the Bible, then they'll turn around and say that, the Bible is written by man, when they just told you that they believe 100% that the Bible is the Word of God, right? So, if that's the case, then God is the author of confusion, right? Now, this is per they're saying now, right? Now, they may not say outright coming out of their mouth, but that is what they're saying. Because if you say to me that the Bible is the true Word of God, and you believe in it 100%, and then I point out contradictions and hypocrisy, then you turn around and say, well, man write the Bible, right? Then you have to look at your own psychological mind and say something is not right. Right? See, this is why you have so many denominations among Christianity. You have how much? Over 4,000 denominations. Why? Because people use that book, which was created by the Greco-Roman Empire, to control people. So there is no validity in terms of historical figures, historical geography, except for when they may say Rome or what have you, right? But there were no place called Jerusalem. Actually, not Jerusalem, sorry. There is no place called Israel in the Bible. Israel meant, and a lot of Jewish scholars know this, right? Israel was the name of a group of people who are from a particular descendant of a person, right? Okay? So if you had a large family and your name was Israel, then your clan was known as Israel, meaning the descendants of Israel. Okay? So yeah. So I'm online looking for information, so, researching, which again, I love to do. And since I have more time on my hand being home, it allows me to do the kind of research that I need to get done. And you know, the funny thing is that these people are so stupid, right? Because when I was watching my kids, I barely had time to do this stuff. But now I'm coming at them with the ferociousness. Now look at this guy over there. What she did is that she walked in front of him and he grabbed his crotch because his hands went down low, right? So she walked in front of him so I wouldn't see. So I guess I wouldn't get it on video. So they're trying to be slick with their targeting, right? They're trying to be slick with their targeting. Yeah, walk away. Walk away, yeah. Yeah, walk away. Okay? Right? So yeah. But you know, like I said, the more you attack me, the more I'm going to be focusing doing what I'm doing. I'm going to expose you in ways that you have never been exposed. So keep doing it. I understand you think that because you know you have the you feel you have the power and the ability and the authority. Hey, I have the power, the ability, and the authority to do what I'm doing. Okay? In terms of, you know, exposing what's being done. So anyway, so I got this book. It's a very old book. It was written in 1845, and it's called The History of the Church, the History of Christianity and the Catholic Church. Okay? It was written by a German, Dr. something not, I can't remember his first name. Right? In which, again, those are from people who had historical access to historical documents within the church, who was trying to understand early Christian thinking and early Christian writing, particularly in terms of trying to see if there's any validity within the Bible about any type of historical Jesus or any of those people. Okay? And what the conclusion is always that these people never existed. Okay? That these stories in the Bible are allegorical, meaning that they are not to be taken literally. Right? So even the early Judean belief system, which was not Hebrew, right? Again, Hebrew came out from Greek, right? The Hebrews came out from from Greece, okay? The belief of the so-called Jewish people, and at that time they didn't call themselves Jewish, they were Judeans. They were not Hebrew either, right? In terms of what we know as the Hebrew people of today. So anyway, every time I found a book or documentation, it was followed by police sirens. And that was pretty late. I think I went to bed like after 4 o'clock in the morning, right? So I went to bed after 4 o'clock in the morning. And every time I found any sort of documents, any sort of old books, right? Even today, I actually had to purchase a book called Jesus is the Son. Even after purchasing that book, was like $3. It was a Kindle version, $3. Right? Afterwards, again, not even afterwards, but during that entire time when I went to Amazon, it started with the police sirens. Okay? So, like I said, one thing about in the Coercive Persuasion Program is the fact that they try to prohibit your any sort of look at it, yeah, I know. Touch it. Look. they're you know, as Dr. Ray Higgins said, they have a psychopathology that they want what they believe to be real without any sort of historical Yeah, you gotta yield. Hello. What you blowing your horn for? You gotta yield, right? No, you gotta yield. You gotta yield. Pass it. But they need to revoke your license. Pedestrians always have the right of way, idiot. See? That just to show you that these people on the road and don't even know the the law, right? Pedestrians always have the right of way, and you have to yield because this is a park, and you have to yield to any pedestrian crossing the street. All right. So anyway, as I was saying, so these people, they want what they believe to be real, and reading that book, some of it, I didn't read all of it. I highlighted a couple of pages. Right? Yeah, so sorry. So I highlighted a couple of pages. And I was reading from it, and it's very telling. It's about, the thinking of the two different groups of Judeans. One set was determined to continue on the religious belief, something went in my eyes, the religious belief of their forefathers, and another set who was deeply entwined with Greek culture and Greek society, Hellenistic beliefs, because again, the Greek belief system taken out of Kemet, in which the spiritual belief system taken out of Kemet by the Greek and converted to their version and reinterpreted in their own way. They call that Hellenistic, right? And it doesn't mean that it's like what we consider to be hell or devilish. It's just that this is the period in which they call it, right? And within themselves, they had their own version in which they were reinterpreting Egyptian spiritual belief system. And again, even they themselves understood that. Again, those of who are highly educated understand that these were just allegories, and the state used it as a source of control over its people by making the rulers, particularly in the polemic, the parliament, if I'm saying this right, okay, the Ptolemaic era, in which the Ptolemies ruled, particularly in Egypt, right? So particularly in Egypt, okay. So this was before the New Testament, right? And again, I'm dealing here with the Old Testament, because even within those Judeans, like I said, there were two different ways of thinking. One, and they were causing hell. When I say hell, I mean they were causing all sorts of trouble, all sorts of protests. They were fighting against the state. Again, this was before the Romans, and it continued well into when the Romans conquered Egypt. And the one thing they don't talk about, I'll tell you, in the Bible, is this ongoing issues with these two Jewish sects. It's kind of like we have today. We have Orthodox and non-Orthodox, right? Okay. And what they were trying to do is trying to give some who broke away from the traditional Orthodox view, right? Those were saying, it was like, hey, these are confusion stories, right? These are allegories, not meant to be taken literally. But again, you're going to have those who's going to take these things literally, because this is what religion does to the mind. Any sort of belief system. And again, this belief system is not based on facts. And this book clearly tells you that the Egyptian belief system was grounded in science and facts, not on some beliefs. right? And so what they have said to do now is to now make belief, right, the system of belief, more important than facts and what is grounded. Okay? So anyway, now it's interesting because during those times when, because they mentioned in their documents, they mentioned Moses, right? They did mention Moses, but they did not mention anything about Moses being the adopted son of Pharaoh. Do you understand this? Okay, that we have people today, particularly black people, okay, far removed from their own spiritual concept, which is based on science, on nature, the laws of nature, okay, spiritually in tune with what they call God, because again, monotheism didn't start it with the so-called Judeans. It was well before that, okay. Akhenaten, who was a pharaoh in Kemet, was the first to bring up the concept of the one true God. Again, people will create their own belief system based off of what other people believe, or the belief system of their forefathers and foremothers. Okay? So Akhenaten created his version, the first version of a monotheistic God, and closed down the temples in Kemet, right, of those who were worshiping the traditional Kemetic spiritual belief system. And again, the writer quotes from the documents about how the ancient people did not believe that God was outside of them, but was within them, and how they created different attributes of in terms of human, in terms of trying to humanize the different aspect of God, right? So for example, you have the Sphinx, which has the lion body and the head of a man. That signifies man being able to control his animalistic sense and nature, right? You ever heard the saying, mind over body? Okay? So again, but these are things that many people don't want to understand and want to know. They just want to believe because it makes them feel good, and the fact that they have been conditioned into not wanting to have the power, right? To have the power to get up, stand up, right, for themselves and others. So they put that belief. So what the Romans did and the Greeks did was take that belief and took it outside of them. This is why we as black people are suffering today. When it was our ancestors, our forefathers and mothers that understood that within us, we all have the ability to ascend to being a Christ, K-R-S-T, not C-H-R-I-S-T, because that's, again, that is the Roman, right? The Roman, Greco-Roman word for the person who they condition you to believe in as a literal figure, so that you will always ask him to save and rescue you out of your predicament, or to give you whatever that you need. Right? So the book I bought today was called Jesus is the Son. Again, a lot of historical documents. Like I said, all these Jewish scholars, they know this. All these Christian scholars, they know this. Right? Anybody who has done any sort of scholarship work in terms of trying to understand where these religions come from, understand that it goes back to Kemet. Right? They understand And they know this, but they're not going to tell you and I, because again, one, it is this form of Christianity, it is a system of white supremacy. And two, if they tell the truth, we as black people will come into our sense of awareness, right? Because I've told you guys, if you read the book of Adam and Eve, okay, in book 2 of Adam and Eve, chapter 4, right, when Satan was trying to tempt Adam, and God came and he said to Satan, reveal your true form to Adam. And Adam saw Satan's true form and he was afraid. Why? Because he was black. God said to Adam and asked him this question: is God black? Is God a woman? Again, now this is you guys got to understand this, right? Our Kemetic spiritual belief system saw God as the female, because it is through woman that life is created. Here go the ambulance. I tell you, it's funny how I wake up this morning, you know, not hearing anything, not any ambulance or nothing like that. Police sirens, look. No police sirens, but as soon as I text Pam, they started, you know, I started hearing. And I was up from since about, I would say, minutes to 10 this morning, right? And I didn't text Pam until after 1. Okay, and since then there's been ambulances, police sirens till now. Okay, so anyway, as I was saying, right? And again, this is what's really you know, fucked up and screwed up about what they've done to us as a people, and the fact that, you know, and Dr. Ray Higgins, you know, he brings this point across clearly, right? That we suffer from a pathological way of thinking because we are not in tune with who we truly are. Where we have a people who are not spiritual by nature condition us to their version of spirituality. And if you look at what they do throughout their history, not just to us as a people, but to this planet, right? You can clearly see that they are disconnected from anything that's spiritual. Because the meaning of spiritual, the true meaning, is to breed, the spirit to breed. So when you read the Bible, God put the spirit into Adam, means he breathed life. So we talk about oxygen. What do we breathe? Oxygen. Oxygen gives us life. Right? Again, science, people. Our African ancestors knew this. See, they would like to think that our people was primitive and didn't know anything, but our people was way more advanced than we are today. Be it philosophically, be it psychologically, be it in terms of science, the sciences, much more advanced. But today, because we think we have these modern things, and if you go back and you do research into these things, you will see where it all comes from, right? Yes, some groups of people have improved on it. Doesn't mean that we as black people couldn't improve on it either. But we are in a condition of servitude, a condition of oppression, to where we couldn't. And if you look at the history, particularly in America, of the invention, the things that were invented within the past 500, 600 years since we came here as slaves, our ancestors came here as slaves, right? We know that black people invented a lot of shit that white people steal. We know that. So we've always had that in us. So why don't we get that? Why don't we get that? Why don't we get that? Because of religion. Religion that rebinded our mind to a lower frequency, that took God or the divine within us and put it outside of us. So now when we're looking for solutions, we're not looking from within, we're looking from outside. We're looking up in the sky. Right? When we're searching for answers, we don't want to go do the research. You know, we want to be lazy and look up in the sky and say, God will reveal all things to me. God ain't revealing shit to you. Because even in the Bible, it tells you that God stopped speaking to man to the days of the prophet. And Jesus was the last one that God spoke to, right? So again, you go to church, these pastors, they call themselves apostle and all this bullshit. Okay? Excuse me. You know, they call themselves apostle this and apostle that and whatever, anointed this and anointed that. Ain't nobody anoint you, fool, but yourself. Right? Because your mind is in a state of perpetual psychopathy, a mental illness. And yet, people that speak the truth, what do? They say, oh, you're crazy. That's why when you show them evidence and you say, hey, look, what does this say here? What do? They want to curse and attack you. They want to say, you know, you're the devil and you're going to burn in hell and this and that, such and such. Why? Because again, when people have been conditioned with a form of mental illness, this is what they do. And they don't believe in a form of mental illness. Because you can't believe that a man walks in water. Literally? Really? You believe that a man got swallowed by a whale and live in the belly of a whale? Really? Huh? You believe that a man took two basket of fish and 2 loaves of bread and fed, you know, a couple thousand people? Really? Whatever, you know what I'm saying? Like, seriously? You think that a man in a lion's den with a hungry lion, right, live? Really? What else? I can go on. And I posted, I'll tell you Christians do this, okay? Since you want to believe in such nonsense, right? Why don't you go and do this? Go to Google, do cubic to feet conversion, and then go into the Bible and take the measurements that God gave Noah, right, to build this boat, which now is going to house all the animals, right, in the world, okay, to be saved, right, from a flood that was going to happen. And in the Bible, it tells you how much the water rise, okay? Why don't you do that and ask yourself, do I still really truly believe this shit? Because that's all you got to do. But because you cannot think outside the box, you cannot think beyond your programming, okay, you cannot think and see the truth and the reality, but the delusion and the illusion of a delusional mindset that has been created within you as a people. When you are naturally spiritual people in terms of, again, let me get the definition of spiritual in its true original form. It means to breathe, right? It is the oxygen that we breathe. It is not something that you feel something moving. That's just your mind, okay? That is your mind. Right? When they say Christ, it doesn't mean a literal figure. It is an allegorical representation of the Son. Right? And again, this is why when you see Jesus, you always have the crown, which is the Son behind him. Right? This is showing reverence to the Son, Ra, who was reborn every day. And let's look at it from another perspective. The Christ means a person who also reached a level of consciousness, a higher consciousness, right? And what does that mean? That means that you have a thirst for knowledge and understanding, and that you treat people in a certain manner, right? That you want to help those that are downtrodden, that are oppressed, right? In other words, that you are exalted, right? Because you have the calling, right, to stand up to protect and want to help those that are in trouble, right? Particularly if these are your people, right? See, this is why we're in the condition that we are, but everybody else is moving forward, but we keep moving backwards, right? Because they got you so indoctrinated with the Bible that you are afraid of knowledge. You are afraid to know. Meanwhile, they're knowing every damn thing about you and about everything else. They're developing technology. They're developing other psychological programs to deeply to indoctrinate you also. And what are we doing? We're reading the Bible. Thank Jesus. Thank Jesus. I know he's in my life. Come on. Seriously? Yet when those of us who are awakened and can think outside the box, we're being attacked. And how they do this? How do they know this? Let me tell you something about white supremacy. Okay? White supremacy, excuse me, hold on. Okay? White supremacy, it is a system. A created system to perpetuate the lies of racial superiority of one group over other groups of people. It is not scientific. It is a system of economic and control, just as religion. And what they've done is that they've incorporated religion into white supremacy, and so now it becomes an even more powerful tool to use against us, right? And it becomes even more powerful when you have those who have been conditioned to believe that they're less than, they're not smarter than, right? And they should be ruled over because they were animals and, you know, they came out of the jungle with no clothes and all of this stuff, which is all lies, right? Okay? Now, it's not to say that some people in Africa living in certain environments didn't need all of that. But like I always say, go back and look at why Ethiopia was never conquered. I think it was Ethiopia and Liberia. Those two countries in Africa was never conquered. Never conquered. Okay? Why? Because they remain remnants of people, descendants of ancient people, right? Though they were later converted to Christianity, okay, but they were close enough to Europe to where they interacted with Europeans for thousands of years, right? So they understand their custom also, but those of the rest of Africa didn't understand that. You know, remember too, you also had places in Europe in which, you know, for example, the Romans called the Anglo-Saxons, you know, the people from Britain, they call them barbarians, right? Right? The so-called Germans, they were also called barbarians, right? Why? Because they did not come in contact with educated people, right? Just like the Greeks were barbarians at first, until they came in contact with our ancestors in Kemet, right? This is what happens when you don't understand your history. This is what happens when you participate in a system to try to destroy groups of people who come into their consciousness. And this has happened before, even in the so-called, I would say, even in the first century, right? Whether it be the Greeks, whether it be the Romans, to always indoctrinate the people in order to control them. So this is nothing new. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, when you study history, you understand history, you know that these things happen over and over again. This is nothing new. Civilization rise and fall, right? But we're in modern times, so now they have different technologies, more advanced technologies, right, in terms of certain things. Okay, so now this book I'm reading, it talks about how the Roman bishops and priests, how they, after they've copied, retranslate things to their narrative, they went and they destroy historical documents. This is why you find where they're finding all these other scriptures hidden in caves in drawers hidden away because, you know, many people had different belief system, right? They may take one concept, use the foundation of that concept, and create their own concept. And sometimes some of those concepts may be similar, but not the same. They may have some things that are more in common with each other, and then things will veer off to another direction. Okay? But the purpose of creating this Bible that we have today, which was fully completed in the 1400s, right? Okay? Because before you couldn't even read the scriptures if you were a regular individual. I remember, like I said, in Europe they went through over 1,000 years, which they call the Dark Ages, in which the Roman Catholic Church, the priests, the monks, they forbid people to read. They even forbid them to take baths. Okay? Again, this is true. I'm not making this shit up. This was some heavy indoctrination that was happening. And it was brutal. It was brutal. Okay? So, you know, I just wanted to just share this because, again, even as TI, whether you're white or black, understand this, that, listen, man, you want to talk about your believing, go do the research. Stop believing instead of, and know. Stop believing and know. Okay? Because guess what? I could believe that I can walk in water, but then when I go to walk in water, guess what? You sink, right? Okay? Now that I know, you can, you know, like you depending on how far you are, let's say you're in the ocean, depending on how far you are, if you believe that you do, you could drown, right? Especially if you don't know how to swim, right? So again, knowing, and it tells you in this, that it tells you how that they move from the concept of knowing things that are based and are grounded in facts. They move away from that to a system of belief because they knew, particularly the Greco-Romans, they knew that having people believe in things that are unseen and condition them to that was more powerful and would turn them away from knowledge in terms of actually knowing, right? So, you know, understand how they co-opted Christianity, because again, Christianity back then was totally different. It wasn't the same. Okay? So, yeah, you know, understand that, man and woman. You know, you got to get our minds right. They've corrupted our minds. Especially today, where they are basically they're inside our community, especially us as black people, trying to prevent those of us who are awakening, right? You know, setting up all these traps and then trying to manipulate us. And those that come into that awakening, they trying to shun us and keep us down financially and all this other stuff. So, you know, I mean, this is separate from me being a TI, okay? Because me being a TI is basically on experimentation and them developing new ways and experimenting on how to control people, okay? But once you know that, then, you know, you need to break that programming. You need to understand how they've done it, okay? What it is that they continue to do, and you, particularly in a psychological manner, that you, and I say you should study psychology. You don't have to go to college. There's plenty of courses online that, you know, you can study psychology. Matter of fact, they got free textbooks, right? So again with the Coercive Persuasion Program, and information is something that they don't want you to have, particularly, you know, the right kind of information. They just want you to know the wrong kind of information, the one that they can use to control you, the lies, right? So with that being said, I'll see you guys in the next video.